Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, the funeral edition of the Tyler Werner Show for the 2016 Philadelphia Eagles season, in essence. After this team comes out absolutely flat against a reeling Cincinnati Bengals team and gets their doors blown up, it basically doesn't show up. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, they come out, they were down 29. To me, the score, 29-0. I mean, in essence, as far as I'm concerned. And, look, first of all, let's just get this out of the way right now. All right? This whole thing, I don't want to hear it. This whole, well, you know, we all kind of had the Eagles maybe finishing, you know, whatever record. I had the Eagles finishing 6-10, and it looks like that's where they're going to finish up anyways. You know what? No, this doesn't apply, because the difference here is this Eagles team started 3-0. All right, 3-0. And I know it's like, you know, it's. But it was a legitimate 3-0. I mean, oh, okay, yeah, it was against the Cleveland Browns the first game. It was against the Bears, who stink. And it was, maybe they caught the Steelers a bit. I mean, they still blew the doors off the Steelers. Maybe they were missing some personnel. Maybe they weren't in their element or whatever. I got it. But they had won 3 with a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. They started out 3-0. Each win being by double digits. And it was like, it was a historical start, so it seemed, for the Philadelphia Eagles, for this regime, for this coach, for this quarterback. And since then, the last few weeks I've been stressing. Since then, you know, then they were 2-5, then they were 2-6, now they're 2-7, and this team looks like a total disaster. They're looking like they're cut from the same cloth as the Cleveland Browns. I mean, am I wrong here?
I agree.
They came. I mean, all right. They got beat in Seattle a few weeks ago. That didn't come as a surprise. Going up to Seattle. I mean, look what Carolina. Look what happened to Carolina up there. Maybe last gasp for them, and they got their doors blown off. It's, you know, I got that. But then a reeling Green Bay Packers team last week. That was the storyline. They come to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, the Eagles riding their home game winning streak. Every chance to win that game. And to basically keep, kind of resume the playoff run after losing to Seattle. Which wasn't, that loss wasn't really a huge damper at all, really, on the playoff front. The loss to the Packers certainly was. Despite the Redskins losing on Thanksgiving to the Dallas Cowboys. So, but the Eagles, they blew it against the Packers. The Packers, who had been reeling, riding a 4-game losing streak. Look no further than the Philadelphia Eagles to change that. To be the team that gets beaten. To snap that 4-game losing streak. Oh, And then the next week, the Cincinnati Bengals. Another team riding a massive losing streak. Oh, look no further than the Philadelphia Eagles to be the team that gets beaten to snap that losing streak. Look no further.
I'm embarrassed.
And again, the Washington Redskins lost. So this Eagles team, and look, a couple weeks ago too, I was a bit, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now they snuck into the mix. Right now they're a wild card team. 2 games later, they're 7-5. I warned everybody here on the Tyler Werner Show. They're another team. The Redskins have been slipping the last few weeks. They're 6-5-1. Now they're probably going to beat the Eagles at this point because the Eagles. Don't even get me started. We'll talk about it slowly. We'll slowly. This is, again, the funeral edition of the Tyler Werner Show for the 2016 Philadelphia Eagles. No playoffs. They blew it. Absolutely blew it. It never ceases to amaze me that this 3-0 start, quote unquote, La La Land, that was the first few weeks of the season. Coming up in the next, I gotta go back. I just gotta go back, perhaps, a little bit into the vault from only about 2 months ago, where, talking about this Eagles team and how they were riding high and how even with some inferior talent, they were getting it done. And Carson Wentz was looking like, a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, for crying out loud. And if that's putting it at top 5 at least. You start 3-0. Historically, 75% chance you'll make the playoffs. They start 3-0. Here, there's still 4 games to go. And here I am with the funeral edition of the Tyler Werner Show. We had to do this last season, and obviously, need we talk about last season's disappointments as well, and how Chip Kelly is over in San Francisco riding a massive losing streak, and historically bad San Francisco 49ers team. And then right after that, they hired Doug Pederson. And that's public enemy number 1 right now. Obviously. Unless you want to throw Jeffrey Lurie in the mix, because with everything that went down with the Chip Kelly, and then the hiring of Doug Pederson, and how my concerns are they're coming to light. The reservations I had about this hiring are just, they're smacking me right back in the face, for lack of a better term. Slowly and steadily, we'll unleash unveil everything on the Tyler. You just break it down piece by piece. But again, it never ceases to amaze me how this Eagles team started 3-0. All right, this is a little different than this is a different kind of disappointment. All right. I know last year the Eagles, they were supposed to take that step forward. Break some ground in the playoffs and that whole thing. It all went south. And the team was getting their doors blown off back-to-back weeks. Wasn't even showing up. Just like this Eagles team didn't even seem to show up in Cincinnati against a reeling Bengals team. So it's different. A different kind of. This year, they start out 3-0. They're riding high. They're in the top 5 in the NFL power rankings. In some of them, the top 3 early on in the season after that third week. And here we are, 9 games later, 2-7 stretch, with 4 games to go. Still a quarter chunk of the season. And this Eagles team, while they're not mathematically eliminated, they're eliminated logistically. You could argue that last week, I guess you couldn't say that logistically last week they were absolutely dead, given that, you would have thought they were going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, and they didn't. But now this Eagles team has not only shown that they're probably more deficient talent-wise than we thought they were, certainly than what it appeared to be earlier in the season. And maybe they have injuries here and there. Okay, they lack depth then. They are soft. That's the word that comes to me. They are soft. Soft as Kraft marshmallows or whatever they are. They are poorly coached. All right?
Come on, that's terrible!
That's the truth. Oh my God, don't even get me started with running the ball on 3rd and 9. Goes for no gain anyhow. Oh my God. They just, not every single individual maybe, but on the whole, and there's no sense of urgency. I don't know if, it's, in many respects, the locker room has been lost, which it's kind of a sad thing. It's year 1 here for Doug Pederson, and you would think that it's different when last year, I don't know. Yeah, it looked like November, the locker room was lost. Chip Kelly had lost the locker room. And this team was coming out. They were getting their doors blown off. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. They weren't even showing up. And then somehow they miraculously beat the New England Patriots. For some odd I don't know. And in a must-win situation, they lose at home to the Redskins or whatever, which, to win a weak division, albeit, but still. This time, this season, I just don't, I mean, you hate to say it, but it's like this locker room is lost. But I don't understand. Like, I don't know if, like, they went to Seattle and they weren't the same after that loss or what. But in a must-win situation, essentially, against the Green Bay Packers, they come out flat. And then, against a super must-win game, against the Cincinnati Bengals, they look even worse than they did against coming out against the Green Bay Packers. They were down 29-0. And essentially, I don't count anything after the mid-third quarter. After that, I could care less. I could care less about, a blown coverage where Zach Ertz catches a touchdown when he can't block worth a lick. And for the most part, they only bring him out on passing plays. And that's a problem to me. It's kind of like, for the most part, most of the time, spoiler alert, opposing defense, Zach Ertz is on the field, passing play. I hate to say it, but that's, it's right there. It's just, this team is an absolute mess. And, again, I mean, we can go back till the cows come home about, 6-10, That's where you had them finishing this year anyway, huh, Tyler? They're probably, I mean, hey, at this point they might even finish worse than that. And that's the scary thing. They might finish 5-11. They're gonna lose to a desperate Washington Redskins team. They're gonna lose to maybe a not as desperate Giant, but a Giants team that is looking to lock up a playoff spot, lock up a wild card spot, and they're going to lose to the Baltimore Ravens, who also trying to lock that division up, or regardless, make the playoffs. But their division, they're tied with the Steelers right now. And they play them again, so that could go either way. And, the Cowboys, they're probably going to have home field locked up by that time. They only have to win two more of their games, and they've locked up home field advantage. Or Seattle just loses one, and the Cowboys win one more, then the Cowboys essentially lock home field advantage up. It's mind-boggling, but that's the reality. So, so even if I don't know. They're going to play a Cowboys team last game of the season. I guess it's going to be resting their starters. And at that point, it's just like, why bother? Just I hate to say it, but who cares at this point? They're probably going to finish 5-11. And at this point now, they may as well. Who cares? What are they going to do? Are they going to, like the last few seasons when they'd finish up with a pointless game against the New York Giants and they'd win it anyways? It's like, oh, well, let's win. Oh, look, last game, spare me that BS. Just lose the. I mean, I don't know what else to say. At this point, the rest of the season's written off to me. It's evaluation. It's basically who the hell wants to play here. You know, it's like show us what you got. Because we hear we don't have much with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's for damn sure after this game. And last week, just in general. We got an overpaid defensive tackle. We've got nothing at wide receiver. And apparently, we don't have much at running back. Secondary looked absolutely lost. Not getting any pressure on the quarterback. I mean, poor, absolutely horrid coaching decisions and play calling. I mean, what do we got here? We have a disaster in Philadelphia. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. And it is the funeral edition where we mourn the loss of the 2016 playoff hopes. This freaking early, ladies and gentlemen. This freaking early. I can't believe it. This Eagles team is a disgrace. And I'm just ready, like, flat out, like, just cut the cord. I know it's not going to happen. But I'm just ready to, like, you know, I'm done with Doug Pederson. Like, I know it's like, oh, he needs a, you know, it's his first year and, you know, yada, yada. The guy's not ready to coach in this league. He's not ready to head coach. It's evident to me. And from the get-go, that's what I was telling myself when they made this hire. Like, what? Doug Pederson. I was saying, could have hired maybe Sean McDermott. He had a bit of a resume, building a pretty darn good defense in Carolina, an almost Super Bowl winning defense. For a few years, one of the better defenses in the NFL. I don't know, had a little more of a pedigree of maybe being ready to take that step, but no. We got Doug Pederson. And all we can really do right here on the Tyler Werner Show, for the most part, is just pick this Eagles team apart piece by piece and discuss on the Tyler Werner Show. Just, like, where does this team go? Never mind, I gotta take a breather here. Alright. We'll come back on the other. I mean, is it even worth breaking down this disgraceful performance? I mean, we'll do it. I mean, we'll start getting. I mean, it's like everything has been called into question here. Everything pulled into the light. There's so many things to be ticked off about this performance that just continue to shed more light on where this season has headed, and that's down the drain, and where this regime may be headed, for crying out loud. On that note, we'll talk more on the other side, right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Back after this.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyberstalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted!
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It was the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I mean, I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick up the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Alright, we're back on the Tyler Werner Show on the funeral edition for the 2016 Philadelphia Eagles. As, you know, I think it's safe to say this team's not making the playoffs at this point. And it's quite a shame because, once again, we just saw the Washington Redskins lose another game this week. And these division games coming up now, I mean, they were revenge situations for the Philadelphia Eagles, but this Eagles team is an absolute mess, and they have not looked the same in recent weeks. I mean, let's take this game as a perfect example, and Fletcher Cox, all right, you know, kind of like a missing in action scenario. He's getting, you know, he got his big payday, you know, the highest paid player on the team now, and he's certainly not showing it. And there's an excuse going around that, like, oh, well, he's getting double teamed and triple teamed, and all right, well, if that's true, then how come nobody else is getting sacks, is getting to the quarterback? You know, it's just, it doesn't add up. Fletcher Cox, I don't know if his game's not evolving or what, or if he's a one-trick pony, but he's not getting to the quarterback. The pass, like nobody on this defense is getting to the quarterback. And the last couple of weeks, this secondary has gotten shredded. I mean, again, number 31, once again. Jalen Mills, Watkins, they're really showing their weaknesses. And the problem is, too, Malcolm Jenkins, he can only play one position on the field out there. And while they may have been a little banged up as of late in the secondary, they look absolutely lost. And Andy Dalton was looking like Tom Brady last week. Or I'm sorry, Tom Brady this past Sunday. Absolutely shredding this defense. And I mean, I don't know what more to say. I mean, other than they've really regressed on defense the last couple of weeks. I mean, first six drives. The first 6 drives for the Bengals were all scoring drives. That's absolutely unbelievable.
Come on, that's terrible!
You're telling me. Opening 6 drives, which is obviously the clear majority of drives in the game. So this defense, they've just fallen off the map the last couple of weeks. And I know, last week too, I mean, it wasn't so much that they gave up a whole lot of points, but the way they just got torn apart, picked apart, and just could not get off the field. This was another example of that, so it seemed. And yet, over on the offensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, before I ask the question, the Eagles, they struggled running the ball, unfortunately. Smallwood, I mean, had a few carries here, but they overall, they just couldn't get the ball going on the ground. And I know they're a little limited right now without Ryan Matthews. And with Darren Sproles somewhat banged up, still recovering from that rib injury, the cracked rib, if they want to use him a little more sparingly. But other than that, they weren't getting it done on the ground. And this basically caused 60 pass attempts on offense for Carson Wentz. If you count 3 scrambling plays, 63 pass attempts or pass plays. That's not going to work. That doesn't fly. You're throwing the ball that many times in the game. I mean, statistics show this. History, chances are you lost the game. Carson Wentz, this may have been his poorest performance of the season. Now, I'm kind of, I mean, if there's any, any positive I can pull out of this negative is that this year, when we initially thought he wasn't going to be playing, hopefully he's getting these kind of poor performances out of his system now. These rookie growing pains that early on in the season looked like maybe they weren't even going to be a factor. But it's come to light now with the state of this team. I guess it's inevitable that he was going to have some rookie growing pains. And this was a game where he had several balls batted. And you know what? It's quite a shame that 6'5" Carson Wentz is getting balls batted left and right in this game. And about 6'2" Andy Dalton is getting no balls batted this game. When last week he had 6 balls batted at the line. It's just fine. The Eagles, this front 7 that was supposed to be, front 4, and it's a joke at this point. And they can't even get to Andy Dalton. It was pathetic. But Carson Wentz, I don't know if it's pressure, getting happy feet, getting balls batted at the line. He's been sailing balls lately. His most common interception seems to be like that ball that sails over Ertz's head or whatever in the middle and gets picked off. He threw 3 picks this game. And you throw 60 times in a game. I mean, obviously that increases the odds of throwing an interception or multiple interceptions for that matter. But Carson Wentz, I mean, having said that, I don't know where to point the finger at exactly, if it's any one reason. Because again, in the beginning of this season, Carson Wentz was lighting the world on fire. He was machine-like. He was putting balls exactly where they need to be. He may have had better protection. Lane Johnson, since missing him, it's certainly been a hole. And I don't know if the lack of him, maybe other lacking on the offensive line, has caused him to just not be confident. Not be as confident in the pocket. Always kind of, looking out of the corner of your eye when maybe before you weren't doing that so much. I mean, Dorial Green-Beckham on that one play, that out route to the sideline. I mean, Carson Wentz just, misses him totally. When for a change, Dorial Green-Beckham actually got some separation, was wide open. It's like, what happened there? So I don't really know what to make of that. It was a pretty poor performance by Carson Wentz, though, and it seems like he's in a bit of a funk. He hasn't been as sharp, certainly. And I mean, again, I don't know if it's between the offensive line, this guy, that guy. I don't know. But offensively, this team is just absolutely abysmal. Now, here's what makes me scratch my head. And we all should be scratching our heads at this. Alright? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Paul Turner, he's, Pro Bowl wide receiver here, future. I don't know how far we can go yet. But having said that, he gets put in the game eventually here. I mean, he wasn't targeted all the week before. But here he gets some passes thrown his way, and for the most part, he's pretty productive here. I mean, he caught 6 balls for, about 80 yards or so. And he showed some signs of, some flashes of some good speed. And considering that he was, he showed something. I'm sitting here wondering why, after all the struggles this team has been having with wide receiving, with Nelson Aguilar, who, oh, by the way, he hasn't had a single game yet in his career here with the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL where he's had 75 or more yards in a game. Paul Turner just did that his second game. Explain that. Explain that to me, Doug. Explain to me how, all this time, this guy hasn't been good enough, I guess, to be out there, to be dressed on the team. He second game, he at least catches several balls for 80 yards or so. Meanwhile, Nelson Aguilar, he hasn't done that in his entire near 2-year tenure here with the Philadelphia Eagles so far. Explain that to me, Doug. So that just brings up a whole nother issue. Like, is Doug how's his evaluation of these players? I mean, that just seems odd to me. I mean, Paul Turner showed a little something. You can't say that about, really, for the most part, Dorial Green-Beckham. Especially Nelson Aguilar. Who, it's one of those things, like, yeah, he caught like 4 balls for like about 20 yards this game. I guess in his return to action. Whoopity-do. Another typical day. But it's like one of those things, like, I think the first ball he caught of the game, he like had it, and then he kind of got, hit hard, and the ball was in the air, pop up, and he's laying on the ground and like catches it, and it's like, that was pretty good concentration. It's like, why? What? If he caught that, why does he drop all these other easy, wide open passes and stuff? I don't know. But still, having said that, just other than that, another pedestrian day. And meanwhile, it seems as if Dorial Green-Beckham, all he can do is run a slant route or whatever for the most part. And Jordan Matthews was missing. Zach Ertz, he's a glorified slot receiver. He can't block. He's, need we speak more on that. But again, like Paul Turner, it's like here he kind of showed something. But apparently all this time he was only good enough to be on the practice squad and not to be brought into the game. It was only until Nelson Aguilar had this whole, he has to see a sports psychologist thing. He has to sit out a game, and this whole, crock of BS, and just, to me, does not make any sense for a first round wide receiver selection. It just doesn't make sense. But nevertheless, Paul Turner gets called. He didn't do anything last, but he starts getting the ball thrown his way this game. He showed a little something. And it's just, again, he showed more in this game than Nelson Aguilar probably has his entire career. And statistically, Paul Turner had a game that, in terms of yards, that Nelson Aguilar hasn't had in his entire 2 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles thus far. Or 1 season and 12 games this season, if you want to call it that. Or I guess 11 games, because he didn't play last game. But you get the point. So it's like how are you evaluating these guys? Like, it doesn't make sense. Apparently, this guy has been sitting on the bench after what we just saw. Not saying he lit the world on fire, but he showed a little something. Why is he be sitting on the bench all this time when this Eagles team has had Diddley at wide receiver? They've shown Diddley. And you would have thought that much sooner, maybe Paul Turner would have been mixed in. Maybe they would have given him a shot. When everybody else is just kind of stinking it up on the outside. So I don't know what to make of that. Just like I don't know what to make of this roster for the most part right now. On a lighter note, as we just kind of let the air out here. That was this pathetic effort of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tell you a team though in Philadelphia that hasn't been turning in pathetic efforts, and that is, of course, the Philadelphia Flyers. So, ladies and gentlemen, last week we're talking about the Flyers here on the program. Obviously, we're in the midst of this Philadelphia Eagles season that, from here on out, I mean, it's kind of come to an early close, at least as far as the playoff race is concerned. But we were discussing last week the Flyers and how they were, for a change, it seems they finally put back-to-back wins together. At least that was last week. But not only did they go on to put back-to-back wins together, they then put a third win in a row together. Last Thursday night against the Ottawa Senators in overtime. And then after that, on Saturday, they put a fourth win in a row together against the Chicago Blackhawks, 3-1. And then the very next day, on Sunday, against the Nashville Predators, a fifth straight win, 4-2. And then last night, the Florida Panthers, the Flyers beat the Panthers 3-2 in overtime for a sixth straight win. And suddenly, oh my God, that winning maybe putting together that winning streak I was talking about last week on the Tyler Werner Show has been coming to fruition. 6 straight wins by the Philadelphia Flyers. Gotta hand it to them. They're doing something right. Unlike this Philadelphia Eagles team. Here, the Eagles have been falling apart. When the Flyers, when the Eagles, when they were kind of expected to beat Green Bay, and they were kind of expected to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, at least in theory, before any of these losses took place. Flyers, they haven't known what to expect of them. And here they pulled a 6-game winning streak out of their hat. Who'd have thunk it? And then, now they take on the Edmonton Oilers Thursday. And they got the Stars Saturday. And then Sunday. It's got a lot of games here. Busy week for the Flyers. Busy weekend. With another back-to-back Saturday afternoon and a Sunday evening game against the Redskins, the Red Wings. And the Flyers play the Red Wings on Sunday, and the Eagles play the Redskins on Sunday. See a common theme here. Now, the Flyers, you know what? They've played 28 games already, which is more than anybody in the Eastern Conference, as a matter of fact. But just you know, to make things, it's just out of interest. Take a look at how the Flyers have risen up the standings a little bit. Again, they've played, you know, 3 more games than a lot of these teams, having played 28 games. But right now, right now they sit at 15-10-3, 33 points. The Penguins are at the top of the Metropolitan Division, along with the Rangers, both at 35 points. Although, you know, the Rangers, they played 1 more game than the Penguins, and the Flyers have played 1 more game than the Rangers, so. But, you know, with this winning streak as of late, that's certainly been a help. At least in the standings category a little bit. And by the looks of things, I mean, the Metropolitan Division is the superior division in the Eastern Conference over the Atlantic Division for the most part. So, who knows? It's been a crucial stretch of games here that the Flyers have put together. You know, you win 6 straight, that's going to help you in the standings column, that's for sure. They're above 500 now, you know, 15-10-3. So that's good things. Good things we're seeing out of the Flyers. And it'll be interesting to see if they can keep this winning streak going. I mean, I can't think of the last time the Flyers won 6 straight games. I mean, even in seasons when they've been pretty good, I'm trying to think in recent years. I don't know. But anyhow, as we move things along here, the Tyler Werner Show, this funeral edition, essentially, for the 2016 playoff hopes for the Philadelphia Eagles. We move forward with none other than top 5 thoughts around the NFL, and this would be the Week 13 edition, as we are getting down the stretch here for, you know, essentially the NFL playoffs that, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles will have no part in this season, unfortunately. So we start with number 5. Top 5 thoughts around the NFL Week 13. Number 5 is the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the New York Giants 24-14. The Giants have been pretty solid as of late. However, the Steelers were more solid in this game after beating them 24-14, and they remain tied, at least at 7-5, with the Baltimore Ravens right now, and I believe they have a big game against one another this coming week, so that's a big game right there. Giants still strong at 8-4, holding steady at their 5th seed wild card spot as of now, so sure they'll. Well, I was about to say I'm sure they're prone to bounce back. However, they play the Dallas Cowboys this week, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to pan out for them. But nevertheless, we'll see how that game goes. We certainly will. Number 4 thought around the NFL. We go over to the Baltimore Ravens who absolutely blew out the Miami Dolphins 38-6, and ultimately ending Miami's 6-game winning streak. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Again, I mean, Baltimore tied with the Steelers 7-5, although Baltimore won the first matchup between the two teams. But Miami is riding this 6-game winning streak. Speaking of 6-game winning streaks, like the Flyers, suddenly find themselves on the receiving end of a major butt whooping handed to them by the Baltimore Ravens. Pretty good showing out of Baltimore. Next on the list at number 3, it's the Oakland Raiders, beating the Buffalo Bills 38-24. As the Raiders surge to a 10-2 record right now. That's right, you heard that right. 10-2. And right now, Derek Carr leading the polls, leading the race for MVP of the 2016 NFL regular season.
Just sharp guy.
Trailing behind him shortly, not by, I guess not by too, Tom Brady, of course, as a kind of always in that mix. Certainly.
To me, those balls are perfect.
So, but Derek Carr right now leading that MVP race. It's when you're 10-2 and you're just an offensive juggernaut in the NFL, like this Raiders team has been. Point at Derek Carr. Thought number 2 around the NFL this week. The Kansas City Chiefs, who edged out the Atlanta Falcons 29-28. And the Chiefs moved to 9-3. Big win over a Falcons team that was coming off of its bye week. And the Chiefs get it done. Not only that, Thursday Night Football, huge game. Chiefs against the Oakland Raiders. And that would be a huge win if the Chiefs beat the Raiders again, as they did earlier in the season. That would give them a 10-3 record along with the Raiders and give them an advantage in the division. So, huge game for sure. Number 1 thought around the NFL in Week 13 is none other, once again, than the Dallas Cowboys edging out the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota this week, 17-15. With their backs against the wall, it looked like the Cowboys were going to lose their first game since Week 1 this season. But no, the Cowboys moved to 11-1, have won their 11th straight game, and they clinched a playoff berth. And essentially, 2 more wins absolutely clinches home field advantage for them. However, if the Seahawks lose one of these next couple games, and Dallas wins just one, and then they lock it up. They lock up home field advantage. That's unbelievable. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. But the Cowboys, they just continue to get the job done. And here we sit with the Philadelphia Eagles, just kind of picking apart piece by piece where this Eagles team is going wrong. Things are going sour here and there. And for the most part, this all points to Doug Pederson. You know, the guy just not competent? Is he just not ready? Is he just not as qualified as he should be? That's all coming back. It's all, like, last year, the reservations I had, that many of us had, about this hiring, it's just all coming back. I mean, in his press conference, day after press conference, which I didn't really waste much time playing and going through on the show here. But in his Monday press conference, day after, the question was asked if, some players are, like, quit on the team or whatever on the season. And he said no. Like he did not. And then later on, a couple minutes later, he gets asked a similar question about players, and he said, I don't think all of them did, something. It's like he just said none of them did. And then later on he's saying, I don't know if some did or whatever. It's just a mess. And then it's like him and Carson Wentz are not on the same page or something. Carson Wentz has been questioned for his mechanics or whatever. And, Doug Pederson in the post-game press conference said how, like, it's kind of got it's kind of mechanics or whatever. They got to work on his mechanics, or he's got to work on his mechanics, yada yada. And then Carson Wentz said, I don't know if it's that. It's he basically denied it was mechanics. Wentz kind of said it was other things. So I just don't. It's like nobody's on the same page here. Doug Pederson is calling running plays on 3rd and 9 that go absolutely nowhere, and it's just an absolute mess. And the culmination of all these decisions that he's been making, challenging last week for a second. Challenging what it was a 2nd and 8. I think it should be a 2nd and 10, and just amongst many other things. Maybe improper evaluation of talent, amongst bad play calling, and it's just a mess. And the only, it's a shame. This is going to sound sad, but kind of the point from here on out for watching this Eagles team and I guess, discussing here on the Tyler Werner Show, the Philadelphia Eagles, the main idea, is, I guess, to see just how bad they are. See where they stand. See if this is an absolute tailspin that is going to continue. See if this gets really bad. See if they do lose out and finish 5-11 after starting 3-0. I mean, that's where we stand, because playoffs are out now. I guess we can officially revive this soundbite.
Playoffs?
Yeah. It's not happening. And it's quite a shame when you start 3-0, and this is where it's come down. With 4 games to go. And playoffs hopes are gone. Who'd have thought they'd start 3-0 like the way they did? and then the wheels would just totally come off the wagon, as well as the Wentz wagon, as many people have been saying. That's not to say that Carson Wentz is not going to be, quote-unquote, the guy. I mean, look, again, I'll say it again. He, although he was really sharp early in the season, he's going through rookie growing pains now that instead of going through them next year, like we originally thought, when we thought Bradford was going to be the starter and Chase Daniel was going to be the second string backup and Carson Wentz would be the third string clipboard holding guy or whatever. Instead of that, Carson Wentz is having the rookie growing pains this year, and that's what I felt they should have done anyways. And none of this bubble wrap nonsense where it's like, you draft them number 2 and you don't play him until the second year. I never got that. And surely enough, Wentz has been starting, and he's getting some of these rookie, or at least you hope, he's having these rookie experiences now. So that's about that in a nutshell. I mean, I guess it's evaluation from here on out, pretty much, and I don't know. I mean, again, slim to none chances that Doug Pederson is actually given the hook after this season, but the question has been begged. It certainly has been in recent weeks. Well, especially after this week, where it just looks like this team, whether Doug wants to say it or not, it looks like this team is lost. Like they're not playing to win. It's like they're playing to collect a paycheck without urgency, without winning in mind. So, with all that in mind, I mean, this is the end of this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. The funeral edition, as it's been touted, for the 2016 Philadelphia Eagles playoff run. As there will be no playoffs. After being teased early in the season with a 3-0 start, it's come to this. So with that in mind, we'll wrap up this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and may the 2016 Eagles season, playoff hopes, whatever, rest in peace.